Hello everybody, it's Verticalsandwich. Welcome back to Let's Speedrun SteamWorld Dig. We're speedrunning SteamWorld Dig, and this video will be like self-contained. So it's gonna, I just did like a 15-minute video apparently, or like an 18-minute video. So that's kind of neat. I don't have to do any splicing or editing or anything like that. But one of the things I want to clarify about what I was talking about, because I don't know how clear it was that about kind of robots and gender identity and stuff, is that I find it interesting that AIs could have gender identity when they don't have biological sex, right? I do understand the distinction. But what I wanted to talk about, because I said I was stopping and this is the next day, but I do remember what I said, so I can talk about it, was imagination. And my thing with the human imagination is, you know, we really romanticize the imagination of human beings and stuff, but when it really comes down to it, there are a lot of things that we just take for granted that I think actually kind of suffer from that. Like, suffer from the fact that a lot of times we accept comfort, or I guess, that a lot of times we ignore human imagination, or we devalue it because we don't like to take chances, right? And one of those things that I would say about, and actually I think in both cases, I would argue that the industries that most publicly suffer from that, and this is just my own kind of like pet peeves, are first off the auto industry. That, like, we've essentially been building the same car for 100 years, right? That, like, you know, I mean, we're just now starting to do electric cars, which is, again, we're starting to do electric cars again, because there were very early electric cars. But there are things that, like, when you think about, like, your steering wheel in your car, right? You know, do you ever grab the bottom of it? Like, would you ever just grab the bottom of your steering wheel? And the answer for most people is, like, no. So, like, does your car need to have a steering wheel? I mean, like, at least one shaped in a complete circle? And, like, the answer to that is probably not. And there are just things like that. Like, you know, people would, like, that, if you made, like, a bow tie shaped steering wheel to guarantee hands at, you know, 3 and 9 or 10 and 2 or whatever, people would make fun of it. They would. People would think it's weird and things like that. But is it a better idea? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, we've been essentially making the same, you know, we have the same thing with, there's the same thing with, like, with keyboards, right? Is that keyboards are keyboards are laid out in a way that letters won't cause typewriters to jam up, like typewriter strikers to jam up. And yet, though there are far better keyboard arrangements, or there are just better keyboard, you know, we don't see those around. Like, I mean, they exist. People have made them, but and I actually would argue that the airline industry also kind of suffers that way. I'm not saying there's a better design for airplanes, because I don't know that. But what I am saying is that we've essentially been making the same airplane for a long time, too. But, I mean, it's not even about that, really, when it comes right down to it. When it comes down to what we ignore about human imagination is, you know, the idea of, you know, what can work. Is it really a better system? Is it really the perfect system for everybody to have their own little car and travel in that huge distances, or, you know, are we capable of something better? And it's one of the things that's, again, really kind of fun about science fiction, is that, you know, nothing else is gonna, you know, nothing else is gonna give people personal liberty the way an automobile does, right? You can go where you want when you want. You can stay as long as you want. Or at least nothing I can think of. But you know, we have discarded a lot of really cool ideas. And then there's the idea of like money interest, right? Is that, you know, it is always financially risky to invest in imagination. Like if you want to try to build like a car that somehow, you know, makes a steering wheel that nobody is comfortable with. And the steering wheel is just one thing. I mean, obviously this was an issue with things like push button shifting in cars was like a big flop, right? Partially because it just never caught on, and things get better through generations of cars, right? Problems get fixed. But if you want to build that, you're essentially asking somebody to try out something that goes contrary to their entire life experience, right? I have no experience driving a car that doesn't have a circular steering wheel. Like, if somebody just decided to make a car with a tiller instead, which is, I believe, what Model A's had, was they had a tiller that turned the wheel. Would that be more efficient? Maybe. But, like, or would it be a better idea? Maybe, I don't know. But, like, would I be comfortable using it? No, not at first, and it would be scary. But what I find more often is that we don't spend a lot of our lives as people. And some people are an exception to this rule. But we don't spend a lot of our lives questioning the kind of things like the shapes of our houses and the like layouts of those things. You know, a very small bit of research will, you know, tell you a lot of really cool things about geodesic domes, but nobody's building them. Like, at least as houses. I mean, so it's just things like that, right? I mean, it's not necessarily... And then there's the idea of industry support, right? Is if you build a new system into a car, then it's new for everybody, right? So, like, the mechanic down the road, like, isn't probably going to know what to do with your new kind of way of... Which, you know, I don't know, it's a thing I think about, is I just, like, I like to look at the things that we're doing, and I like to wonder about them. You know, I like to wonder about, like, I like to look at my car, and just go, I mean, is it really the best thing that this thing just has 4 wheels placed where they are? Like, why doesn't it have tank treads? Wouldn't it be cooler if my car had tank treads? Like, wouldn't that be better for it? Isn't there some sort of way, you know? And like I said, that you know, industry resists innovation, and especially big money industries. It does. Like, they're probably, when somebody, these kind of things I'm talking about, people have probably suggested. Like, at auto companies, people have probably said, oh, I don't think we need circular steering wheels. And there's probably this huge process they go through where it's like, how much will it save us? How much will it cost us? Will it increase sales? Will it depress sales? And then the cost-benefit analysis at the end of the day, if it says we'll lose money if steering wheels aren't circles, then they make circular steering wheels. The only reason I use the bow tie example is because, like, I know, you know, stand-up arcade games that were race games sometimes had those. And that probably has everything to do with it. A race game, you know exactly what you're going to do with the dumb thing. It has no safety, safety drawbacks to make it bow-tied shape. And it saves half the molded plastic for the handle. I am interested. I would be interested to see the research and the kind of the kind of R&D on the idea of treads, right? Like tank treads and stuff, because clearly, like, that is a subject. Like, if you made a Ford F-150 truck, right, or like a Toyota Tundra truck with tank treads, people would buy it. Like, the market for trucks would be into, like, the people trucks are marketed at would be into that. Like, if you were like, you can drive over everything, including this boulder or something, you know, like, people would, but, you know, maybe it has a lot of stuff, you know, like maybe I don't know, I can think of a bunch of mechanical downsides, right? Like, all the wheels are connected and have to be timed together. But I don't know how different is that from, like, my all-wheel drive Equinox, right? Like, or Equinox is probably, I think they pronounce it Equinox. It's probably pronounced Equinox. So yeah, it's just it's a thing. This is what my brain does when it's not playing video games, right? It thinks about the shape of my car and whether or not that's a thing that, you know, I would like to see changed, or whether or not I think should be changed, or I wonder about what, you know, I wonder about what cars will look like in the future, right? Because, like, you know, the thing about, like, the idea of electric cars, like, changes a lot of stuff. Well, it changes some things significantly, like, you don't have to think about things like filler tubes and the placement of the gas tank. You don't have to, you know, the charging port has to be convenient. And I think if I were designing an electric car, I might want to put that somewhere similar to where you would put a gas tank, because, I don't know, people are creatures of habit, but... But yeah, I mean, all musings of a madman. That's what's going on here. Musings of a madman. I'm not mad. So yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's interesting because people don't want to. One of the great things about kind of design and humanity in general, and kind of the way we design is the idea of space exploration, because everything is utilitarian, right? It's not at all about whether or not somebody will like this, whether or not somebody will buy it. It's all about function, all of it. And so you can get these really weird kind of setups, like, you will inevitably get weird setups, because there aren't those kind of commercial or taste concerns. Like, an astronaut doesn't get to not like the color of the landing module. Like, nobody, I mean, he does, but he doesn't get, like, nobody cares. It's not gonna change. Or the shape of it, or, you know, nobody says, like, hey, that lunar lander isn't very pretty. Like, the idea is, like, will it function on the lunar surface? Then we're good. Can we get it up there? In fact, now that I think about it, it's got to be very freeing for engineers to work at a place, you know, like NASA, where the primary concern is function, as opposed to in the private sector, where the primary concern is profit. Because there have to be a lot of really great, like, automobile and aeroplane, well, maybe not. But a lot of, like, automobile ideas that have just been shot down because, you know, profit. Which has to be horribly discouraging. Yeah, I think one of the things too is that like there's so much of that that you will never know, right? Because in a lot of cases in the corporate world, ideas, even rejected ideas, are kind of this proprietary, confidential information. So it's not like, you know, it's not like Ford's going to be like, hey, one of our R&D guys had a really great idea that we're not going to use. So, like, you want to hear about it? Like, that's never going to happen. But yeah, ideas that are interesting to me. Maybe not to everybody. Maybe not to most people. Probably not to most people. The cars we have do the things cars are supposed to do. For most people, that's enough. So now that I've done this right, I never used a teleporter outside of Vectron. It's going to not matter because we're going to be so short on money that I have to clear out Vectron and then still go back up into Old World, but we definitely have the time. So let's look at about where our total is here. I mean, that's not nearly enough. 15.5 is, you know, we need $4,500 more dollars. Which is a tall order. And that's 9 diamonds. And we didn't miss that many diamonds. There's no way. So, after this, we'll be stopping the video here. And when we come back, I'll be talking about, you know, we'll be watching the end of this. Because we're done with exploration. It's just about money gathering now. Bye, everybody.